Should I start my e-commerce business on Shopify or Etsy? This is the question I was asking myself when I was first starting out a couple of years ago. I was wondering, what's the difference? Does it depend on the type of products I'm selling? Can I really trust the opinions of people that are already selling on those platforms? Or does it just not matter at all? It's a huge fork in the road and a major decision when you're starting a new business that, if you get it wrong, could mean the death of that business before you even get off the ground. That's why in this video, I'm going to be breaking down everything you need to know about the two platforms that I've learned after $25 million in sales, everything from the pros and cons of each, how to grow on both of the platforms, and then analyzing them from a pricing, ease of use, and sustainability. First off, we have Shopify. When we talk about trailblazers in the e-commerce industry, Shopify invariably tops that list. The reason for this is that if you imagine you were going to build a house, the typical way would be to go brick by brick, building everything from the ground up completely from scratch, and hope that you remember little details like putting in the door or adding in stairs. That's what creating a website used to be like. It was lots of coding, long hours of troubleshooting, and at the end of the day, the end product was nowhere near what you were expecting. And you can think of Shopify as your digital construction kit for building that house, or more specifically, your website. So what Shopify does is it gives you a fully built end-to-end e-commerce website that is pretty much ready to open to your customers the minute you create an account. Then what they let you do is customize and tweak certain settings and the layouts to make it your own. And you can either customize the entire thing or customize nothing. You're pretty much ready to go from the get-go. If you want to add a product gallery, snap a new block on. Need a payment gateway? There's a block for that. Everything from customer reviews to product recommendations to frequently bought together to post-purchase upsells, Shopify has it all. Making websites that used to take months and months to develop doable within a matter of days, if not maybe a few weeks. So diving into the numbers, the one question on everybody's mind is the pricing. How much is it going to cost me? So Shopify's baseline pricing is $29 per month. You can get a free trial for $1 for 30 days by clicking the link in the description below, but after that, it's 29 bucks. So about $1 a day. But to be fully transparent with that only includes the base website, which honestly you can get quite a lot out of. But like on my Shopify store that I run, I use quite a few apps. And these apps can range anywhere from $5 to a couple $100 per month. So the total Shopify fee, if you include the apps to get the kind of product you really want, can end up being quite a bit higher. Now, obviously, these apps are optional, but it's just something important that you know about. The next thing about their pricing is the transaction fees. And this is something that is true no matter where you're selling, but anytime we take a sale from a customer, a percentage of that sale goes to Shopify. The reason for that is basically, it's our way to process credit card transactions, and it takes about 2 to 3% plus 30 cents per transaction in order to do that, which may not sound like much, but when you're in a lower margin business like print on demand or drop shipping, every percent really does add up at the end of the day. As your store begins to grow, they do have higher tiers that you're able to move up to, with their highest tier being Shopify Plus. And Shopify Plus costs $2,000 per month, and that's where big name brands such as Gymshark and Kylie Cosmetics, how they run their websites. But honestly, I've never really needed anything outside of the $2.99 a month plan. Okay, so now we've heard what Shopify can do and how much it costs, but you're probably wondering, how easy is it? Like, what is the learning curve and how long is it going to take me to get up and running with this? Now, I won't sugarcoat it. There certainly is some learning curve when it comes to getting started with Shopify, but what I can promise you is that it is far less than any other e-commerce platform out there, because they have tons of pre-built templates, they have an easy to use theme editor, and they offer 24/7 customer support. So if you have any questions or hit any roadblocks along the way, they've got your back. And to help with this learning curve, I put together a 365-point dropshipping checklist where I walk you through how to set up a Shopify store step by step. You can find that video in the link below, and feel free to let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help any way I can. But moving on to the last point about Shopify, and the most important thing by far that separates it from Etsy or Amazon, Walmart, any other option out there, is at the end of the day, it is your asset. You are not selling on somebody else's marketplace. You are building your own customer list that you own no matter where you go. And that's building a real asset that you can leverage in any way you choose down the road. As we're going to get into with Etsy, but on any other marketplace, there's always the risk of you getting banned and you don't really own the customer data, meaning that you're just there as a guest in their house rather than building your own house. Then the biggest downside when it comes to Shopify is that with it being your own house, there are some cons to that, meaning you have to be the one to get all the guests to actually show up. Whereas Etsy and Amazon, they already have all their own, friends and family coming over, aka the traffic sources. You have to get your own people there, which the good news about that is that Facebook, Google, TikTok, all these different ad platforms have gotten so much easier over the years, making it much more doable for beginners to get traffic to their site extremely cost effectively and with a low test budget to get started. Let me know in the comment section down below if you want to see a more in-depth ads training on how I get traffic to our Shopify stores. Just know that the ads does not have to be as intimidating as it may seem at first. Now let's jump over to Etsy and set the stage over there with this opportunity. So you probably browsed it in the past for unique arts and crafts, maybe apparel and home decor, and you've gotten a feel for, what it's like. Selling on Etsy is a completely different vibe altogether. Basically, you're at your friend's house for a party, which is great because they already catered all the food and they invited all the guests. You didn't have to do as much of the work. Downside you have to remember is that you're a guest in their house, meaning that you don't have all the same rights and opportunities that you would if we were at, say, your own house. And if you've ever been at a club with a super strict bouncer, that's pretty much the feel that you can expect as a seller on Etsy. So if you stray too far off the path or, get too many of your own ideas that may infringe against Etsy's ideas, they will shut you down in a heartbeat and your business can pretty much be gone like that.
I am inevitable.
Overnight. But before I say too much, let's get into the pricing and see what exactly does Etsy have to offer and how much will it cost us. And while Etsy does not have a monthly subscription fee like Shopify, the way they get you is with their 20 cents listing charge, which honestly doesn't sound like much because 20 cents feels like chump change, and it's essentially just like renting shelf space at their store for 4 months at a time. So once every 4 months, you re-up for that 20 cents for that one product's spot on the shelf. So we have the 20-cent listing fee, plus when you make a sale, there's a 5% Etsy fee on top of that. This varies based on the market that you're selling in, just like on Amazon, but 5% is the average. So if you sell $100 worth of goods, $5 of that is going right to Etsy. And this is different than their next fee, which is the transaction fee. And this is the same one that Shopify has, which ranges from 2 to 3%. So in total, their fees add up to being about 8% plus 30 to 40 cents per transaction right off the top of our revenue. Then we have the 20-cent listing fee, which, as I've talked about in other videos, when it comes to print on demand and drop shipping, a lot of the success is determined by the number of products. It's just a volume game. If I have 100 products listed on Etsy, that's $20 every 4 months that I'm paying. So that's $60 once a year. But then if I'm really trying to grow my business, I might have up to 1,000 products, which 1,000 products times 20 cents is $200 every 4 months or $600 a year. So those are the little fees to keep in mind. However, the pros of Etsy are simply not to be overlooked. First off, they have their own traffic channel, which is massive. They have their own people that are coming to the website every single month, allowing you to just simply focus on making the best products possible. You don't have to worry about anything with ads, email marketing, none of that stuff. You just focus on making the best products possible and SEO optimizing your listings. Basically making sure the people that come to Etsy find your products. The second thing that I love about Etsy is their advertising is dead simple. So they have an internal Etsy advertising system, kind of like Amazon does, where you're able to pay to rank higher for when people come to Etsy's site. This is a great way to get your new listings more exposure to traffic and help your product start to rank higher in the search results organically. And the other thing I love about Etsy is how simple it is to get started. It is designed for artisans and craftsmen and people making stuff out of their mom and pop shop or out of their garage. So it is not designed to be tech savvy at all. Basically, anybody can get started with it and just follow along with their setup instructions and their great Etsy seller trainings, and you'll pretty much be good to go. And Etsy is a massive platform. By 2021, it had 90 million active buyers, which is a huge number that you can rely on to actively come back to the site and buy again and again. Since the traffic is already taken care of, this presents a relatively straightforward path for new Etsy sellers. First, research, make a product, SEO optimize, list it, optimize it again, and rinse and repeat. And that's essentially it. It's about as simple of a business model as you could ever hope for in e-commerce. So to wrap this all up and bring things together, I want to answer the question of how I would get started, again, if I were to launch a brand new e-commerce business. And the answer is not as cut and dry as one or the other. The honest answer is I would do both. But let me explain. The way that I would get started is by launching my products on a Shopify store, driving my own traffic, and then once I've proven out the concept and I know that I have a niche and a brand that is worthwhile to invest into, basically meaning that I'm seeing good results that I know that I can continue to run. And the Shopify store can be a standalone asset, like whether Etsy and Amazon all go away tomorrow. That's the point where I decide to invest into launching those products onto those other channels, like Etsy in this case. And the reason that I do it that way is twofold. Number one is that I have complete control over the traffic and I never have to worry about getting banned or kicked off or any of that. I know that what I'm building is mine and no marketplace will ever have complete control over my income. And number two, while Shopify is great for building my own asset, being overly dependent on paid ads from Facebook or TikTok can be a recipe for volatile sales. So I like to balance that out or hedge my bets by listing all my products on Etsy and Amazon and different marketplaces to make up ideally 15 to 20% of the overall sales. And those are sales that I can consistently rely on compared to the volatility that Facebook sometimes provides. And lastly, there's a certain type of customer who only really buys on places like Etsy and Amazon. They aren't the type of shoppers who are ever going to buy from a Facebook ad or TikTok. So by building our hub on our website, that makes us a reputable brand and shows all of our social proof and who we are and what we represent. Then branching out into Etsy, Amazon, Walmart, these other marketplaces brings us more exposure and more traffic to our website, which then it basically just becomes a whole flywheel that continues to circulate and continues to grow over time. So that would be my advice. Start with Shopify, then go to Etsy, and have the two work synergistically. Don't rely on just one platform or the other. But when you're getting started, definitely prioritize getting really good at one platform. Don't be a master of all, master of none. Just keep it on the horizon for you that once you get there, you're going to expand in other marketplaces. But in the beginning, follow along with trainings like this one to learn how to set up your Shopify store and optimize it and get really good at that process. And then move on to Etsy and start taking sales there. So be systematic in your approach, but my recommendation is Shopify first, Etsy later. Sure, other people would disagree. Just look at their track record, see if they've done $25 million in sales on Etsy or if they've done a fraction of that. And if you like this video, be sure to watch this one next where I break down the difference between Printify and Printful and which decision is best for new time print-on-demand sellers. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.